things as well. Anyways, more on them later. Let's take it to 49ers, Bears. Weasel, don't waste my time with this game too much.
Oh, jeez. Okay, chances for the Bears to get in the playoffs as the wild card has dwindled. The Bears, 26-20 home loss to the 49ers in overtime. So, 49ers quarterback Blaine Gabbert. Respectable showing for a decent NFL quarterback. 18 of 32, 196 yards, 1 passing touchdown, sacked 4 times.
You're suffering from Manziel disease here because 2 of those plays combined for about, I'm going to guess, about 110 to 130 yards.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Did have also 6 scrambles for 75 yards and a touchdown. 49ers running back Sean Drawn, 13 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown, 5 receptions for 50 yards. He's a good running back if you need somebody for points per reception.
Okay.
Because he does get a good amount of passes to him in the game there. So quarterback Jay Cutler for the Bears, 18 of 31, 202 yards with an INT. Matt Forte returned, 21 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey, 4 for 85. Both teams were tied at 13-all from the middle of the second quarter all the way up until the fourth quarter. You have Bears running back Kadeem Carey. He ran in for a touchdown with 3:32 remaining. Bears up 22-13.
Did you just say that Carey carried in a touchdown?
Possibly. With 1:52 remaining, Gabbert put together a 6-play drive that ended with him scrambling 44 yards for a touchdown.
So let me get this straight. You mentioned him as a top runner going 6 for 75 and just glaze over that most of it was on a 44-yard. Who lets freaking Blaine Gabbert run 44 expletive deleted yards? Look, I'm a 49ers fan. That has got to be the single ugliest run I've seen all year.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I'm really glad your wife was not there watching this game with me because I think she might have thrown something at me. And you know what? I would have just taken it in the face. Just like, yeah, right in the face, TITF, take it in the face. Because it was so bad, Weasel. I'm not cheering for that. I don't care if he's wearing red and gold or not. I'm yammering. Go.
So the Bears got a boost with special teams returner Deontay Thompson. He's running back he ran back the kickoff 74 yards to the 49ers' 28-yard line. Wow. That eventually set up Bears kicker Robbie Gould. I think in NFL history, I think he's one of the most accurate ones out there. Yeah, so 36-yard field goal. 3 more than an extra point. Should be money. Seconds remaining. Kicked it wide left. Ooh.
Here we are in Chicago, viewing the side of the Shankopotamus here.
And that the thing was that was ball game right there.
Yeah.
But it went into overtime. Both teams went 3 and out in their first drives. On the first play of the 49ers' next possession, Gabbert threw a 71-yard touchdown. I think the guy was wide open. Torrey Smith for the win. So,
Yeah. That game was complete trash. I think the Bears let Torrey Smith score so they could go home because they did not want to sit the remaining 15 minutes to get the tie that should have occurred because neither team deserved to win this football game. Yeah. I'm just saying.
So, the question is, can good old Blaine Gabbert become a franchise quarterback for the 49ers, considering that Colin Kaepernick's pretty much done, or is the guy just a career backup?
So, there's a lot of talk that Kaepernick's going to get traded. I don't know that that's a lock at this point because I'm not going to pain with Blaine. I don't know. But what other option is there?
His contract, I think on paper you just look at it and say, oh my gosh, why did the 49ers give him like a $100 million contract?
You're talking about Kaepernick.
Kaepernick, yeah. So the thing about that contract is essentially it's a year-by-year contract where
it's varied guaranteed money is essentially the way it works.
So I think the first year was guaranteed. It was about, I think, 10 or 11 million. Now, the way they have it, I think his whole guaranteed portion of his contract, I think it was only like 11 million or 15 million, something along those lines. The rest of the contract, not guaranteed. But do you really think that the Niners are going to give Colin Kaepernick a $11 million contract to $12 million contract to play next season? I think no.
He's making $7 million less than Russell Wilson. Could be argued to getting him in a discount.
Well,
I'm just throwing that out there. No, I don't. While it would be more interesting to think about where Kaepernick should go, my problem is I don't see another option in their future. Who's going to take the reins over there?
over in 49ers?
Yeah. Blaine Gabbert he may be a stopgap answer. They may have him back next year, and he may end up starting and winning the job early and all this other crap, kind of like Damon Heward and Brody Croyle back when Herm Edwards was coaching in Kansas City. And we saw how that went when they eventually fell to having to use Tyler Palko as the third-string quarterback when those two guys were either doing bad or getting hurt. I said last year at Thanksgiving 3 to 5 years for the Niners to be relevant again, and with the way it looks right now, that could be a positive estimate, and I'll leave that at that. Seahawks, Vikings, Weasel.
In this home game for the Vikings, they got humiliated as the Seahawks crushed them 38-7.
No fancy intros, no explanations. They got humiliated. Go!
Straightforward. So you got Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson, 21 of 27, 274 yards with 3 touchdown passes, sacked once, had 9 scrambles for 51 yards and a touchdown. And it looks like the Seahawks, may have found their eventual successor for one running back, Marshawn Lynch. It is rookie running back Thomas Rawls.
Rolling with Rawls. You like that? That was from
Not
the
bad.
hip. Rolling with Rawls? Okay.
Just don't overuse it.
Rolling with Rawls. What you think was going to happen? Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So he had 19 carries for 101 yards and a rushing touchdown. He did lose a fumble, though. Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin has been on fire lately. He's 5 catches, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think for the past 2-3 games, he's had multiple touchdowns. You have running back Fred Jackson. He made an appearance, 2 for 13 and a touchdown. Oh, for the Vikings, quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, 17 of 28, 118 yards. Yeah, that's not much. 0 touchdowns, 1 INT, sacked 4 times. And someone who's going to be angry about this game, it's going to be Vikings running back Adrian Peterson. He was shut down early on. He had only 8 carries for 18 yards. Now, the Packers game, it was about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. They were saying that he didn't get to the ball enough. So the following week, he then runs wild. So maybe that'll happen this week.
Well, hold on. So let's be careful there. Peterson probably could have had a little bit more of a weigh-in with the Falcons. And he did run all over the Atlanta, or I said the Falcons. He probably could have been used more in the Packers game.
Mm-hmm.
The next game, the Falcons game, he was used more and basically ran all over Atlanta to continue to prove that Atlanta Falcons are frauds. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that handing the ball more to a guy that's trying to hit a home run against the Seattle Seahawks defense is the right move. I wrote about this in the matchup mania leading up to this game. The problem with this matchup is that the Seahawks are good at what the Vikings aren't. They can stop the run well because they're a good defense, and they would force Bridgewater to throw the ball, which he did not do well. And they themselves, or the Vikings, I should say, aren't that great at stopping the run themselves, and they just started rolling with Rawls. And, oh, by the way, there's this guy, Russell Wilson, he's learned to step up in the pocket better. We saw that in the game against the Steelers last week. I mean, Russell Wilson has looked better in the past 2 games than he has in the rest of the entire season, period. That's not negotiable. It ain't just about the numbers either. Just look at the damn film. A guy who talks about how often, Wilson's underrated. I think this is just a matchup problem. And I don't think going to Adrian Peterson in this game made sense. A home run wasn't going to happen here. Right? Okay, so
Yeah.
he gets past the front line and the linebackers. He's going to beat Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor? Come on.
So total yards for the Vikings offense, 125. Not very good at all. They were dominated on both defense and offense. First 5 scores of the game, maybe hold them to a field goal once. No, they were straight touchdowns all the way.
Straight cash, homie.
And as they were up 35-0 late in the third quarter. I mean, that's like 5 touchdowns, 35-0 or so. So the one bright spot for the Vikings was in the end of the third quarter when special teams returner Cordero Patterson.
Boom.
Ran back a 101-yard kickoff return for the Vikings' lone touchdown.
Yeah, so, I mean, you heard me throw down how the Vikings basically went into this game poorly matched up against this team. I'll put it this way. How much of this do we put on Bridgewater?
I would say a good amount, because I think he's not
75%.
I'd say actually more. I would say about like 51%.
Oh, okay.
Because whenever your defense, I would say, for your first 5 possessions or something like that, you got to force some field goals.
That's true.
And that defense, I mean, 5 touchdowns in a row. It's like not necessarily in a row, but 5 touchdowns were the first scores of the game. And
I would argue
that's just really bad. Especially, they didn't utilize Jimmy Graham a lot, but Jimmy Graham wasn't there.
Yeah,
and,
he's out. Right.
So Doug Baldwin, I don't know. He just he's blown up lately. So it's a respectable team, and it took a while, but the Seahawks defense may be back. And something that is, I think, new compared to last year is that Richard Sherman, he usually played, I believe, on the right side of the where the offense is, and kind of was in, I would say, like a kind of a zone kind of defense, and he excelled at it. This year, I'm noticing it's pretty
moving
much
around a bit more.
Yeah, well, moving around, but he's going, like, people called him, well, you're not a true shutdown quarterback because you just, are in a zone or something. Well, now, this season, I've noticed he goes against the best number 1 wide receiver or tight end. He's shadowing people, and he's being successful with it.
Yeah, he's given up some balls on guys, too. But, for example, last week, he people want to point out how he shut down Antonio Brown last week with the Steelers. Forget about the fact that Wheaton on the other side of the field got over 200 yards. But that could be attributed to why corner Kerry Williams, who just signed a 3-year contract for $18 million in the offseason, cut today by your Seattle Seahawks. I don't have details on why. I didn't read the full article, but I did see the headline. So there you go there, too. Chris, anything to add?
No, not at all. Just with, like I've said before, some of the play callings, they're not allowing Teddy Bridgewater to excel with it. But other than that, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him when Adrian Peterson doesn't, when he's shut down and the Vikings offense basically shuts down, they're not calling the plays to make it successful for Bridgewater. They're just putting too much on him, trying to take deep shots down the field, and it's just not working.
Oh, I'm going to put it this way, and this may conflict with what I predicted in early September. If the Vikings make the playoffs, they're a first round out, because once they play a team that's good enough to stop Adrian Peterson or at least slow him, Bridgewater has shown me he can't do enough to win the game on his own. And then on top of the fact the Vikings had definitely their worst defensive performance of the year, you're definitely right about that, Weasel. This was just a bad game for them, but they'll have an opportunity to bounce back next week, but we'll get on that later. Broncos, Chargers, Weasel.
The Broncos on the road defeated their division rival, the Chargers, 17-3. Broncos quarterback Brock Osweiler.
Put stock in Brock.
16 of 26, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, sacked once.
Okay, so it didn't really drop or it didn't really go up. It's just kind of mid-level stock.
Yeah, pretty much. So Broncos wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, 6 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers, 18 of 35, 202 yards and 1 INT.
A pick 6, I believe.
Yep, pick 6 with only 12 seconds remaining in the first quarter. So they were throwing 24, and he just dumps a pass. And I think he about 5 yards, 10 yards. And there was Broncos linebacker Danny Trevathan. That sounds like a Transformers kind of nickname. But he was intercepted, and he returned it for a touchdown. So
does that mean Trevathan is an Autobot because Megatron's on defense? Or, excuse me, on offense?
Yeah.
See? Moving on.
So Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, 6 receptions for 50 yards. So, who had more support on defense? It's kind of like obvious that Broncos, I think they're going to make the playoffs. Kind of safe there. And but is it this year's 2015 defense for Osweiler Or is it good old 2011 Broncos